Hey there, and welcome to the Scaling Deep podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Princik, membership coach and business strategist. And I know I promised last week that I'd be talking about how to win over new members, but I'm putting that off for now because something else more pressing came up. I decided to write an email to everyone in my audience about the best decisions that I have made this year, 5 of them actually, which is quite incredible that I got it down to 5. But when I started to go through my year and think through it and write things down, it just became so obvious. Now, this is typically the kind of thing that I'd be sharing a little bit later in the year, but I just couldn't hold back because I've had a pretty groundbreaking week in that I've mapped out my plans for 2024. And in the process of looking at what I was going to do in terms of launching and how I was going to work with people, it became pretty clear that I needed to make an important shift and make a strategic decision about how I am selling something and how I'm putting it out there. And I'm going to make a big change. I'm very grateful that I have given myself the gift of about 6 weeks from mid-November of this year to the end of the year without really having to do anything big. I am not creating anything like completely new. I'm not launching anything. Yes, I did a little Black Friday promo stuff, but it wasn't a huge amount of effort. And I have now the space to sit back and really think about what I need to do to make my business work really, really seamlessly and create more predictable results, because I'm super excited to test my boundaries in 2024 and take what I did this year, not do anything brand new, just redo what I've already done and just start paying more attention to the numbers, being more of a digital marketer or an entrepreneur and a CEO by looking at the numbers and the details and analyzing things objectively, which is really fun. It's a really fun cap to put on. And sometimes it's hard to put that cap on when you're still questioning yourself whether or not you're delivering enough value to people and whether or not you've hit the mark with your offers and all that. And I feel really confident about all that now. I've done a lot of things, and I'm going to share with this in a minute, actually, because I'm going to go through my 5 best decisions, and that's going to shed some light on what I'm talking about. But I've done so many things that have generated feedback from people. So now I know that what I'm offering is really helpful for people. And now I just need to put it out there and invest more in putting it out there. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about it. Okay. So 5 best decisions I made this year. Number 1, this technically happened in late 2022, but the fulfillment of this program happened this year. I joined the Digital Insiders. It's a very high ticket program with Julie Chanel at the helm. And if you don't know who she is, she's the head of Funnel Gorgeous, Launch Gorgeous, all the amazing things that they have under that brand and her own programming. I have barely bought anything in my life. I buy very little. I'm not a massive investor. I'm very cautious with what I spend on things. And diving into a higher ticket mastermind was a really big leap for me, given that I'm not the person who says, oh, I bought all these programs by all these coaches. Like, I've not done that, which has been great because I think a lot of those don't deliver on what they say. I actually spent more, so perhaps double the amount, but I actually got access to a mentor and a group of people who are very generous with what they're sharing and who are all growing very similar businesses to me. So I can literally look at other people's models, ask questions, ask Julie questions about my own decisions. And I have been able to implement all that. And I've seen results in all of that. So that was huge for me, a huge leap of faith, a huge leap in believing in myself. I bet on myself. I won the bet, which is kind of funny how that happens. And I invested in that, and it's been amazing because with that comes a lot of tools and a lot of bigger programs around how to do things that you need probably to learn more structure. We all do more than we do like a tiny little tactic. And I know a lot of us get excited about saying, I'm just going to invest in learning how to do TikTok, or I'm just going to invest in learning how to do this thing. Yes, we do need to learn how to build the audience at the end of it, but we also need to make sure our offers are irresistible. That takes time and effort. We also need to learn how to sell properly, how to use all the proper sales mechanisms. And we need to be more confident to sell more often and a bit more excited to do it, and to surround ourselves with people who are doing that and taking those risks. And we also just need to do it more frequently, because that's how we learn what's working and what's not. So that has been huge for me. And that also brings up another pet peeve of mine, is that I often hear people say, well, like, don't invest in high ticket coaches. It's such a waste. You should be investing in getting other people to implement for you and do the hard work in the background. But, you're not going to make good investing decisions on getting people to implement until you really know what you're doing and you know how your business model works, and you know what kind of numbers you need to see, and you need to have some confidence in what you can generate, or else it's actually not worth hiring somebody else to do it. Because if you hire someone else to go and get leads or to get you in front of audiences, and at the end of the day, you're not selling it, or you're not keeping people in your programs, then you probably need a mentor or a coach to help you see the holes in your offers, like someone who you can trust, someone with honesty, someone who is going to be more cautious than, not to say not brave and bold, but more cautious in terms of saying, like, not just, oh, you can do this, and I know someone else who blew it out of the water, because that's probably not the norm. They need to say, well, typically, here's what a result that you might get, and this is what it takes to get that result. That's the kind of person you want to hire. That's what Julie's like. That's what I'm like. So I do offer this kind of support as well. So if you want to know more, simply reply, and I will guide you in the right direction if you know that you're just getting in your own way and that your offers are great and that you can do it. If this is your time, I could be your person. Number 2, I worked on my SEO. This is kind of small. I've talked about this before. This didn't take a ton of work, but I systematically updated my SEO. It's a very simple process of cleaning up your website, then going through your keyword search, making sure they're in the right places, and then going and adding those articles and those things that help you get found for those results. It is a little bit of work and it's a bit of a learning curve. I got some help from my assistant. I also did sign up with a company called pathfinder.seo. You can actually find a link to them on my website at scalingdeep.com/toolkit or resources. I can't remember which one it is. And I have a link to them to help me figure out what to do. And once it was done, it was kind of a bit of a set it and forget it. Yes, you can take SEO to the larger degree. You can keep working on it and working on it. But I knew I wasn't trying to conquer the whole membership world. I just knew that I wanted to get found for certain terms. And here's the real benefit, and this is what everyone always overlooks. I get found for membership coach, number 1, and I've probably made a third of my revenue this year from people who are eager to buy from me and really eager to connect with a person who they can get help from. Those people have joined my program, and those people have bought VIP days from me, which is a service I love to offer. So huge amount of return for not a ton of effort, and not a continuous effort, say like social, where you show up all the time. I'm not saying that you don't need to show up on social to grow your business, because you definitely, that's a strategy you've got to do at some point. Maybe not right now, maybe not for years, but putting an SEO strategy in place, getting it done, is going to pay off for a lot of different industries. It may or may not work as well for you, but it has really worked well for me. And it also did before for me when I was more of a generalist, when I was a business coach, that I also got found a lot locally with a search term. So it could be worth it for you. I'm just letting you know what worked for me. Number 3, I hosted 6 live events. Okay. You're like, big deal. You might not know this about me, but one of my biggest fears is hosting a party and having nobody show up or nobody have fun. It's like, I don't know where this comes from. I can't even remember when this was implanted in me. Perhaps my family, like my parents, are a little bit socially awkward and probably felt the same kind of things that I just picked up on. But I had this fear, not just putting the stuff together and my showing up and presenting, but that people would just not show up. And then if they did, there'd be nobody else there, nobody talking, and it was almost embarrassing. Okay. That's like a huge fear of mine. This year, I hosted about 5 live workshops and a challenge, and it was amazing. Now, it wasn't like knock it out of the park in terms of ROI. I didn't like 10x my revenue or my investment in it, but I did make money on them. And I also had fun and I made great connections and I got great feedback. And that went so far for me in terms of getting over my fear. And now I am actively going to do a lot of live events next year. Like I have a ton planned and I'm actually really excited about them because, well, there are only really 3 styles of events that I'm doing, but I'm just going to do them repetitively, knowing that the systems are in place and knowing that now I know that I've served people in these methods that they are good and that I will attract people so I can be more bold and more risky when it comes to investing and getting people to sign up for them. So I'm super excited I did that this year. It was big for me because I'd done them before and they didn't feel successful. This year they felt successful and I can't wait to do it again. So that was huge. Number 4, I experimented with what I sold and how I sold it. And I did it over and over again. I did a few impulse sales campaigns, which I do a lot of. I did a lot of those this year. I don't plan to do as many next year because I'm going to plan the things out that I do. And I also experimented with throwing out a couple of new offers. One was a temporary offer for membership audits, and another was my mastermind, which I hadn't really planned to do until last minute. I literally just thought, I want to put these out there. And then I did it. And I just experimented with really putting stuff out there to my list and just being so excited about what I offer and how I help people that I let that feedback from working with people energize me to keep inviting people to join my programs because I think they're so valuable. So I did that a lot. I got over my I didn't really have a fear of overselling. I think I got over that kind of a couple years ago, but I just got more sales and connect with more people and get more people in my membership, have more VIP clients and all that stuff that just really helped me build my confidence around my brand and my business and my offer. So I'm really glad that I did that this year. It was a bit of an experiment and now I'll go out there with a bigger plan, but that getting used to sort of being always selling and kind of getting that sort of paid everyday concept, working on that that is my goal as a business owner, besides serving the audience and making them happy with it. That really was a practice I had this year more than ever. And that was really super fun to play with. All right. And number 5, well, this took me a while. This was a bit hard for me. I hired a new assistant and I paused on the hiring of a new assistant for a while because I was really worried about not getting the right person. And I have, again, a fear around feeling a connection to somebody, but that not being the right person for my business, but sometimes not knowing why and how, because it's people and it's sometimes hard to decipher what is a good job and what isn't a good job, when we're not exactly sure. And I finally did. And I used a process that was very thorough. It required quite a bit of input from the person applying, including a Loom video and clear instructions. And it was totally, totally worth it because I ended up with like a bunch of really great candidates. I think several people I would have been over the moon with. And there was probably even several people who I didn't interview who I would have been over the moon with. And I ended up with a great person who has such a good presence, such a comforting way with me, who's also excellent at the things that I am not good at. And before I hired this person, I used to think that I would have to hire out a lot of the types of tasks I needed, which were design, presentations, and things like that, all as a separate person. And I just put out my dream job description and I ended up with my dream assistant. So I'm pretty excited because so far with her, it's been 2 months. I've been able to crank through a lot. And I've also not had really late nights working on things that I'm terrible at, that aren't in my skill set, like designing slides, which I'm not terrible at, but to do a decent job takes me forever. And those are the things that just cause burnout because they're just not efficient for me. And I can do so many things really efficiently, probably way more efficiently than I even realized, because I'm just so used to it that I just think everyone can do that fast and efficiently, and they can't, and I can. So now I'm really starting to clue into that, that skill set thing. And so having someone else be able to do that and actually find it fun and easy has been amazing. So those are my 5 best decisions. And I want to wrap that up by saying that I have really high standards. Okay. Like I was brought up in my family of origin, in my culture, in my generation to be perfect and really good, and have any kind of criticism or any type of rejection was considered almost a failure. And it's been so incredibly impactful on my life, because I think that I've always felt like what I do is like pretty good, and I'm confident in who I am and what I can offer and what I know. But I think my standards have been so high that they've kept me from putting out and actually selling more than I would have if I didn't have such like incredibly out of this world standards that do not even make sense for the prices I charge and for the business industry I'm in. And that has really held me back. And just starting to recognize that the more we are in relationship and selling to people and having a connection with people, the more feedback we get, the more people we sell to, we start to actually differentiate between the kind of people who are really willing to be open to learning and taking what we're teaching them and doing something with it and getting feedback from them is always like really helpful. Because if we're only getting feedback from the people who are not ready for anything, they're not doing the work, and they are kind of like canceling or quitting because they just don't get the value, that sometimes overshadows the people who really are like, wow, this is amazing. And like, I've taken lots of trainings and this has been some of the best, or you've been the most helpful coach I've had in years. I mean, that really is a lot. And I think just being able to observe that the standards of mine have really caused me to hold back from selling and hold back from putting myself out there has been really interesting, because I think I'm ready to just like put that to bed for 2023 and just hold a place of confidence by doing more, serving more people, selling more, having more members, having more clients and students, and just having that offset of balance of different people who work with me, and the ones that are getting a lot out of it really overshadow any negativity that can come when you are responsible to some extent for people getting results, right? So you might be that person too. I just wanted to share that because we need to start realizing that we're perfectly qualified to be the right teacher when the right student shows up. And that's going to take getting over our kind of past stuff and going out there in a bigger way. And I really hope that 2024 is going to be that for me and for you as well. So I'd love for you to hop on by my Facebook group, Membership Site Mastery with Lisa Princik. You can find that by doing a search on Facebook, and share with us what some of your top decisions have been that you've made this year, because I would love to see it. And stay tuned this week for an announcement, because I'm in an awesome bundle, Lizzie's Christmas bundle. And to get in on that, you need to be on my list, because I've got a couple items that I've got inside that you can get for free when you join the bundle this year. And all you have to do is show up to scalingdeep.com and join my list, and you'll get access to that as soon as it comes out. All right. Thanks for being here with me, everyone. And I wish you all the best for the end of the year.